Hello, and welcome to Sim.bc, where today it is 20 past 3, and we will not continue with the imagination thing, because I've been sick, yes. Funny enough, this week, this Tuesday, was the first day I really scheduled videos for no apparent reason, right? More than that, I wanted to be on schedule, so to say, even though if something came up. And I just happened to get really, really sick after that. So this Wednesday, what's that, like 2 days ago? I had 40 degrees of fever. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yesterday, it's down to 39, 38. And today, it's only 38. So, yay! Hopefully I will be, good enough by Sunday. Because then work starts again. And I've already had to call in sick for work, and that's never a great thing. So what I'm trying to say is that we will not continue with the imagination project today. We will probably pick up on Sunday or Monday instead. However, I'm not going to leave you with not anything. Today I thought I might talk about something that I've seen, because since I haven't really been looking into imagination, I've been looking into lots of series because I haven't been working. Joining you by a new concoction of my own imagination, by the way. It's honey and lemon for the occasion, so to say. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of series, and it took up something that was really interesting to me. So I thought, why not add that? And that particular thing was that in the series, they were playing chess. Yeah, I know, we're going down that route, aren't we? And they were continuously asking about who is the king? Like, who is the king in chess? And the main character never really got the idea. It was always, the king is the government. The king is the one that is in charge. The king is the one that is the most important person, right? And the person who was teaching the main character was like, yeah, it's the most important person or persons, but it's not really the government. And the main character was like, oh, okay. Well, could it be the king then, the royalty, the actual king? He's like, yeah, no, it's not. and this idea continued throughout the entire series, who is the king, and it ended up with them paying it off, saying that he learned a lot of stuff, and they went through hardships, and what they went through specifically that made him realize was that they went through the idea of loss and sacrifice. And I know that I've been talking about loss and sacrifice before on this channel. Wow, this is the worst thing, by the way, with having a fever. First you're really warm, then you're really cold, and then you have to throw away and put on clothes all of the goddamn time. Anyway, so he had to go through some hardships in order to realize what the king was supposed to represent, what his mentor or what his teacher actually meant when he was asking him about it. And what he went through, as I said, was that he went through sacrifice, he went through loss. A loss of a loved one, a loss of someone he knew, a loss of other people who lost all around him. And he was just so confused over the idea that the world tried to strive, or rather the people in the world tried to strive for equilibrium. They tried to strive towards some form of decency, some form of fair place in the world, so to say. That if I experience something or if I lose something, then the person who made me lose that will need to pay the price, let's say, will need to also lose something, so that it's fair, so that it's balanced, right? So that's the entire idea behind it. That's sort of what the main character is met with. And I thought it was such an interesting point of view, saying that the world is trying to strive for equilibrium, trying to strive for balance, let's say. That if I lose someone, I want someone else to lose someone. I mean, that's probably something we can all feel, that if someone hits someone in my family or someone of my friends, I'm probably going to be mad about it, and that's probably going to result, not today in today's standards, shouldn't do, but it does happen. That's kind of sort of the feeling that grows up inside you, that you want to do something back, so that you're sort of even, so that they also know the pain that you went through. And I was connecting it through pain, and the idea was that, well, pain is connecting us all, and yeah, if something happens to someone, then they want to do it and inflict that pain on someone else so that they know what has happened. So when the character is yet again realizing, the main character then, what the king is, and facing himself with this question when his teacher is unfortunately sacrificed, then is that he's asking himself, what is the king? And he comes to the conclusion that the king in chess, right? And this is sort of interesting. The king in chess is the one thing that everybody wants to protect. So the king is not necessarily the king of the country. It's not necessarily the government. The king is representing all of the kids and all of the yet to be born human beings that are going to get into the world and make a change. And that sort of mindset just, I mean, it was so interesting to view something so conventional and traditional as chess in such an imaginative and new way, thinking that, oh yeah, of course the king is what everybody wants to protect. And not everybody wants to protect the government, not everybody wants to protect the king, so to say, the royalty in the country, but everybody do want to protect the future of ourselves, and that will be the children who are not yet born or who are very young, who is going to make up the future for all of us, the ones that are going to make up the future, and that's what people are fighting to protect. That also later led into the idea that due to that people are sacrificing things and that they want to strive for balance, that means that if one group have a king to protect kids, so to say, another group also has that, and that means that they will be fighting each other to save each other's kids, which is stupid. And that's sort of the idea that they come to in the end. That is really weird that everybody is fighting to defend someone, because can't everybody just step away from that conflict then, and then there will be no need to defend anyone. And that's sort of the main idea of that part of the series, at least. And I thought it was really interesting to just think about that for a while, that sure, we strive to strike balance, and I can totally see that, I can totally get that perspective. But given if that is the situation for everybody in the world, then all you really need to do, and this is a lot easier said than done, all you really need to do is to break the chain of that, to create an imbalance, in the sense that you might lose someone, but you don't make the other person feel that same sort of pain, and just hope that they will do that intrinsically, that they will understand it themselves. And then both sides can continue. So for instance, let's say that everyone is getting paid 1 crown, so let's say, or $1 or whatever. But then, so me and a friend are getting paid $1 each. But then, 1 month, I'm getting paid $2 and my friend is getting paid nothing, or the other way around. Now, the logical sense to do is, so I'm very happy about that, but my friend is very sad. And the next month, in order to rectify this, the other person is getting $2 and I'm getting nothing. But now I'm really sad and the other one is happy about it. In the most simplified way, this is how we can look at it, because that's striking balance, right? Something went wrong, now we're rectifying it. And that's really easy to do when it's something so simplified, when it's something so simple. But imagine though that it's a loss of life, or anything else along the lines of heavy elements that are included in this situation. So let's say that $2 for me would incline that someone on the other side dies because a mistake has been made. Does that mean that the next month someone I will know will need to die, when the other person gets an unnecessary amount of resources? Or should we instead say, a mistake has been made, I've been given $2, the other one has been given none. Next month, we're giving 1 each again, because that means that everybody can still survive. The people that I want to try to provide for survive, and the people that the other person want to provide for does survive as well, instead of trying to go towards this balance. And sure, this will create an imbalance in the world. However, in the long run, if people just understand why that action was made and don't feel like, oh, it's unfair, instead they think about, yes, there was a mistake that happened here, but in the long run, if we were to sort of get back on them just because we've lost someone, they will lose someone, and that won't really help us. our only intention in that point is that, oh, we want revenge, or oh, we want them to fully realize what we have lost. We want them to fully realize what we have gone through. And that's such a weird mentality. I mean, everybody has it, but it's really weird when you think about it, isn't it? That we want other people to feel equally as bad as we feel. I mean, if anything, we should be really happy that other people don't need to feel like we do. But the reason for that we want them to feel down, the reason we want them to actually understand how much we've lost something or someone, is because, well, we want to be cruel. We want them to be sad, because that it creates a form of hatred, and the hatred then just spins out of control. And when the other people have lost something, they are feeling hateful and vengeful against the first party, and it becomes a circle of hate and anger. And in this series, they presented this in this way, and then they said that the way of dealing with this is easy to say how we're gonna deal with it, but very hard to implement. And the idea is that, just like the salary situation, when one person accidentally gets $2 and the other one gets none, and it's an accident that we can't rectify at that moment for some reason, right? Can't give the $2 for some reason, or $1 to the other person. Then we continue with 1 on 1. So $1 instead of 0 and 2. Because instead of trying to fuel this hatred and this cycle, we instead break it as quickly as possible, so that in the future, right? In the future, in the long run, the king, let's say, the children, won't need to be defended from this cycle of the two parties, or more, if they're included, more. Just makes it more complex. Then we don't need to defend anyone from anyone, because we just say that it was a mistake and let's move on. Now, this boils down to the idea that most conflicts in the world stems from miscommunication, stems from a place of that we misinterpret something, or we misunderstand the situation, so that we feel very very poorly treated, especially in comparison to somebody else. And that turns out to all of these negative emotions, such as hatred, envious, vengefulness, and all of these things, which then yet again fuel this cycle of hatred. And instead of do that, we instead need to sort of try and spread the idea of, well, quote unquote, right, just get over it, which is much easier, yet again, to say than it is, but just get over it. And this also brings in the perspective of just get over it. I've said for many years now that the vastly intelligent people in society, like the top 5, top 1%, will act in many times exactly like the bottom 5 to 1%, the most stupid people, right? And then all of the people in between won't be able to recognize why this is the case. Okay, and I'm not saying I'm top 1 or bottom. I imagine I'm in the middle somewhere, right? Modesty and humility. But the reason why I say that is because if somebody has hurt you a lot, then you can either be the bottom percent, right? Who say, I forgive you, not necessarily because I know what I'm saying, just because I don't understand the situation. I don't understand the context. I don't understand anything here. I want to avoid an awkward situation. There's such a lack of understanding. It's such a stupid person who doesn't understand it, right? So they're just like, I forgive you, but they don't know why. Then you have the extremely smart person, right? Who says, I have encountered all of these things. I have taken everything into consideration, and that's why I choose to forgive you, because I understand how bad it can really be. So yes, I am taking this on me. I understand completely the situation I am in, and I still take this on me to forgive you. Whilst all the people in between are gonna be like, they don't just want to preemptively forgive someone, because they want there to be a reason for why, yet they are blind to see the reason as for why they should say sorry based on what they probably see as no apparent reason. And that's like 90% of the population right there. Yet again, I would probably do the same. I would probably fall into that 90% category. It's really hard to execute. It's really easy to say, but it's really hard to execute in reality, because all it really takes is one person not to follow this and everything will fall apart. But it was sort of an interesting perspective, an interesting point of view that they brought up and presented in the series. And they were like, so who is the king? The king is the unborn children, the future. Why do we need to, what's the entire premise of chess? Well, the premise of chess is like a battleground. We need to defend the future of our kin, the future of our clan, the future of our city, the future of our country, the future of whatever. Well, why do, and then this immensely insightful person, or is presented as a very smart person, just gives the insightful top 1% question of, then why do we have to fight? Right? Fully understanding all of the concepts surrounding it, and fully understanding the consequences of how people act in comparison to each other, and playing onto this cycle of hatred. But then why do we need to fight? Why can't we just lay down arms? And it was such a cool thing to see. And this is probably something that you will either consider to be like, wow, that's stupid, or that's really insightful. Now, I was really sick, right? Even more than I am now. And I was, up in the clouds and full on drugs, I was about to say, but full on, medical prescription things that are all legal. And I just thought that at that point in time, it sounded really insightful. Now, back to the point that I wanted to make in this video, was the idea of looking at something so traditional and simple as chess is easy, right? But to fully understand what the pieces mean, that's like on a whole other level. And I just thought it was really interesting to think about the king, because I've never thought about the king in that way. Not as a government or someone important that you need to protect, but instead think about the king as the future of everyone, right? And for you and for your kids and so on and so forth, because that's truly what you would like to fight for, isn't it? The one thing in the world that you would probably fight for is your kids. And I've never had a reason to view it from that point of view, but I've never seen it either, which I, in hindsight now, think that at least I should have considered it. So now I'm going to try and open my perspective even more to things that I don't really consider have another perspective, and try to look at other things in the same way and see if, wow, these are things I've always seen. I never really considered that it could be a different way. Let's see if it can be a different way, and by applying that mindset to more things, we can have a more open-minded society, and by having that, we can probably reach a place where we do not have to fight, if everybody is open-minded and realize that, wow, this is probably just a misunderstanding instead of a problem. Now, there is a lot of restrictions, a lot of assumptions in this discussion, I know that, and this is not a way of solving, or rather getting world peace. Probably, there's probably way too many things that I haven't seen, and just the idea that I'm basing this off of a series that I've recently seen is ludicrous if you think about it and try to apply it to reality. But it's just one sort of mindset that you can apply when you go forward in order to think about, peace and conflict and all of those things. It probably will help, or at least it has done to me already. I feel, right? I feel. It could be the concoction here talking, right? But I feel that way anyway. Thought it was worth to share instead of me rambling on about imagination when I'm in a semi-drunken state, right? Not drunk, yeah, you get what I'm saying. I'm sick. Yeah, have a nice one, mates. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, right? Bye.